Hi, you're with IndiaPostLive.com, India's first live conversation web television. This is a portal where you can all join in with your posts, your audio comments, your video comments and your tweets. We are very happy to have your participation in our conversations. Today's conversation too promises to be interesting, and I have a host of journalists with me, and we are going to debate the issue of the ordinance. Yes, within a few hours of assuming office, the BJP-led NDA government issued an ordinance to clear the path for Nripendra Mishra's appointment as Principal Secretary in the Narendra Modi government. So, is the PMO becoming stronger? Is the PMO's glory going to be restored under the new government? That is what we're going to talk about. All of you, of course, are welcome to send us your reactions, your tweets, your comments on the portal, as well as our Twitter handles @IndiaPostLive and #IndiaPostLive. Joining me in the studio, Pratap Chakravarti. Pratap Chakravarti is the India correspondent of South Africa Broadcast Corporation. He has been covering defense, politics, what have you, for many years now. Pratap Chakravarti, thank you so much for joining the conversation. Also, I have with me, of course, Sanjay Singh. Sanjay Singh is the political editor of firstpost.com. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. I'm also joined online by Vinod Agnihotri. Vinod ji is the consulting editor of Amar Ujala. Can you hear me, Vinod ji?
Yeah, sure. I hear you.
Thank you so much for joining the conversation. And we also have N.R. Mohanty. N.R. Mohanty is the director of the Jagran Institute of Media and Masscom. Mr. Mohanty, thank you so much for joining the conversation. All right. My first question, let me direct it to Pratap first. This ordinance that was issued, while a lot of people hailed it as, a very decisive step, it just proves that Narendra Modi was being very decisive. Also, a lot of people said that this also goes on to show, the autocratic nature. You remember that Nripendra Mishra has retired in 2009 as TRI chairman, and the TRI Act does not allow for members to take government jobs. So, how do you see this?
Well, I will put it rather like this, which I was thinking the last few days, that there's a lot of churning going on in the minds of journalists, analysts, and policy makers. That here we have two people, one Mr. Dr. Manmohan Singh, and we have also Mr. Narendra Modi, the new Prime Minister. And their way of functioning is completely different.
Absolutely.
So whatever I see, it's not in defense, I'm not being the devil's advocate, but whatever he does will be now analyzed, maybe over-analyzed, and compared and contrasted with what has perhaps happened before, or perhaps not has happened before.
Right.
Now, at one point we're talking about this ordinance. On the other hand, if we see, this evening, Mr. Ajit Seth has been given an extension as Cabinet Secretary. So it's not that he's going to throw away the basket, the baby with the water. He has certain plans on his mind, like any prime minister who would come in any country would have his own little plans. So to say that maybe it will be stretching too much at this stage, that he's being autocratic. And but of course, there are signs, or whatever people call this, if I may quote, decisiveness. If he shows a bit of decisiveness, there's not a problem. But although slowly as we talk, we unfold that maybe he may not be as autocratic as he would like to be, or was, if he was, allegedly so, in Gujarat state.
All right. What are your thoughts on this ordinance? Because the BJP had always been against the issuing of ordinances because it bypasses the parliament. The BJP itself was against ordinances, and now the first thing that the BJP-led government did was issue an ordinance.
To my view, there is, we shall make a distinction between the ordinances that were brought by the UPA and the controversy that was generated on those ordinances. Look, somebody who becomes Prime Minister should have opportunity and privilege to choose his own team. He was choosing Nripendra Mishra to be his principal secretary.
Right.
He was not choosing Nripendra Mishra to become some governor, which is taken as a good cushy post-retirement job, or to any other positions where he could have gone relaxed and been somebody of the stature.
Right.
Nripendra Mishra was getting a full-time job. So therefore, if Prime Minister is choosing his own team, I think that leeway should be given to the Prime Minister. On second aspect, on matters of ordinances, and Congress that day very strongly criticized, and
Yes.
rightly so. I know Congress is now an opposition party, and they got a chance to say that you are doing same thing for which you used to criticize us. But beyond that, since then Modi has kick-started, I think, his functioning even before he became PM. You can see summoning invitations to SAARC leaders, and then 3 cabinet meetings in 1 week, and so on and so forth. There's several other things. Just got a SMS, and these things are circulating. One SMS, for instance, said when Modi started cleaning UPA 2 files, result was dust storm in Delhi. So, so that is
Okay.
slightly lighter aspect of it.
Yeah.
But yes,
Of course, we must get into those also. It's important.
Perhaps like to add to his
Yeah.
comments, which
Yeah.
is true.
Yeah.
In the sense, one has to see, not analyze, see what does he has he inherited. He's inherited an administration hobbled by a declining currency,
Yes.
a sagging economy, and a work and a business environment which is very difficult in India. Now he's
Yes.
seen as a pro-market politician or a leader, so he will take certain steps, and those steps can be analyzed, as I said earlier, as the way one would like to.
All right, let me get some more reactions on this. Vinodji, we got two very interesting comments from here. One is too early to say that it is autocratic. B, the Prime Minister has every right to choose his own team. And he has chosen Nripendra Mishra and he did it. What are your thoughts?
Actually, Nilanjana, Prime Minister is a privilege to choose his own team. And you see, I will tell you the background of Nripendra Mishra, because he's a very outstanding officer from UP cadre,
Yes.
batch IAS officer. And you see his quality of he worked with Mulayam Singh. When Mulayam Singh was the Chief Minister in 1989 and 90,
Yes.
and there was a police firing on car sevaks in Ayodhya. At that time, Nripendra Mishra was the Minister of Mulayam Singh. And then when, after the elections, Kalyan Singh became the Chief Minister, he was chosen by Kalyan Singh as his Principal Secretary. So he works with a different environment, with the both opposite pole, whether it is Mulayam Singh or Kalyan Singh. And he was, in the UPA regime, he was made the tri-chairman. And now he is the Principal Secretary of Narendra Modi. And he is a very outstanding officer. That's why he never worked with Narendra Modi or any...
Yes, he hasn't. He hasn't, yes.
But because of his performance, his outstanding abilities, and his honest and clean image, he was made the Principal Secretary of the Prime Minister. There was a
So you're saying he's the best man for the job?
problem. That's why the ordinance was this one.
So you're saying he's the best man for the job. He's the best man to be the Principal Secretary in the PMO.
I think so. He's the best man. You see, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he was having Brajesh Mishra as his Principal Secretary.
Yeah.
Now, Nripendra Mishra,
Right.
Mishra. And that,
All right.
and
No,
NDA
the
was a-
PMO...
NDA one was led by Atal Bihari Vajpayee.
All right.
Brajesh Mishra.
All right, let me talk to Vinodji 1 second. Let me talk to Mr. Mohanty, and then we'll do a comparison between Rajesh Mishra and Nripendra Mishra, as you have pointed out. Mr. Mohanty, Vinodji says that Mr. Nripendra Mishra is the best man for the job.
One thing I would like to add.
Yeah.
Brajesh Mishra was the son of D.P. Mishra. And he was having a Congress background, Congress family background. And he was brought by Atal Bihari Vajpayee as his Principal Secretary.
All right.
He doesn't have any political leaning. Because of his caliber and his ability, he was brought by Narendra Modi.
Because of his caliber. All right. Mr. Mohanty, what is your reaction? What are your thoughts on bringing in Nripendra Mishra as the Principal Secretary?
It's very commonly accepted that Nripendra Mishra is a very able officer,
Yes.
very distinguished officer of the administrative service cadre. But the question is that whether we need to preserve our institutions or not, whether we need to preserve our principles or not. If the isn't it that in India, in bureaucracy, there are not enough competent officers? that you need to amend the rules and bring in an officer. I think that is where it's not so much as a trend of autocracy, but it's some degree of disrespect to the established rules.
But Mr. Sanjay
And
Singh
if
pointed
a prime
out,
minister or a chief minister,
Mr. Sanjay Singh pointed out that the Prime Minister should be given a chance to select his own team. And, the amendment had to be made.
the prime minister can be allowed to choose a team within the prescribed rules. He cannot do something which is beyond the rules. So within the rules, obviously Nipendra Mishra did not come, and that's the reason why he had to amend. That's where the objection lies.
Right, all right. Pratap, there was a glitch, right? The TRI Act, the 2009, after his retirement, that you cannot take up a post, that was a glitch which very conveniently was kind of, swept away by the new government. And like you said, every single thing that the new government does after UPA 1 and UPA 2, a 10-year rule of the UPA, every single act is being scrutinized. But do you think the government was right in, straight away pushing in this ordinance?
See, before I answer that question, I would like to really perhaps just self-analyze what Mr. Vinodji said. He raised a particular point. I don't know why he made that connection. That remains, Mr. Mishra was there in the Uttar Pradesh government when the firing took place after Babri Mosque. Now, is he trying to say that it's some kind of a balancing act and a message being sent to the Muslim community by the present incumbent Prime Minister, or what? Maybe Mr. Vinod
I was going to come to that after we did.
Maybe
I was going to come to that point.
No, that is the crux of the matter. See,
yeah.
this Prime Minister has to prove certain things very quickly.
Yes.
And there is no denying that. And he has to do it very quickly.
There's a tremendous pressure on him.
Yes, like the foreign policy issue, the journalists are so liberally calling it a diplomatic coup. It's not really a diplomatic coup.
All journalists were stumped.
Yeah, because they have not seen this thing in the country like in India.
Absolutely.
Or perhaps in China or the region. So, again coming back to Vinodji, if he has just touched that subject, it's the kernel of a matter. Now, what did you really mean by that?
What did you really mean when you pointed out, Vinod?
The connection
I
between
was going to come to that a bit later, but
police
all right.
opening fire. Sorry, his voice.
He worked with two opposite administrative environments. In the last days of Mulayam Singh, he had a very strained relationship with Mulayam Singh, and Mulayam Singh gave a bad entry to him on his ACR, and that's why he was picked to make the secretary of the Chief Minister Kalyan Singh.
All right. Vinodji, your voice is echoing a lot.
In the last days of the Mulayam Singh in 1990.
Yeah, sorry, Sanjay ji, if you understood that, would you care to comment on that?
Just like to add what he said, if Modi has to send a message to Muslim community, I don't think this is the way he'll send a message across.
But Mr. Nipendra Mishra is known to be very close to the RSS?
No. Had he been very close to RSS, why would Congress regime make him try the chairman? So, if somebody gains a position, he of course worked under various regimes.
Yes, he did.
It's very easy to brand somebody as RSS just because he becomes principal secretary.
He was also, there was also an article which called him a BJP mole when he was serving under Mulayam Singh Yadav, and that he gave information to BJP leaders on every move that Mr. Yadav was planning on Ayodhya.
That way, all serving officers who will join Narendra Modi government or had joined Vajpayee government were all BJP moles. These officers existed before BJP came into existence in 1980.
Okay.
If you link them with Jansangh and RSS, well, that's individuals' discussion.
Right.
Nobody is going to stop that.
Okay.
But then the fact remains, if you have to have some kind of uniformity, if you certainly Bar Mr. A TRI chairman cannot become principal secretary or cannot take up any other position post his retirement. Then all regulating bodies, there should be a uniform norm whereby no regulatory authority chairman takes up a post-retirement job. Former Chief Election Commissioner N. Gopalaswamy wrote 7-8 years back that no election commissioner or chief election commissioner should get a post-retirement job. Nothing happened since then. When you have a law prescribed for tri-chairman, and not similar law is not there for SEBI chairman or for instance for other regulatory bodies, then I think you cannot flatly say that okay, this is the law and Modi is transgressing into that part of law. If Prime Minister wants to work with certain team, why not? He should be given a chance.
All right. Can I bring Mr. Mohanty in, please? Yeah, Mr. Mohanty, we were just discussing about how Mr. Mishra has served under different regimes. And the question that Mr. Pratap Chakravarti put up is a message being sent across, which of course Mr. Sanjay Singh...
It's a question I asked.
Yeah, it's a question he asked. It's a point he raised, a question he asked, okay. What, do you have a response to that?
No. Nipin Mishra could have his achievements. I do not know whether it is a message to Muslims or it is very much possible. It's not symbolic gesture. It is not a symbolic gesture. It's very much possible that Modi trusts his administrative ability and wants to have it. But the question is, a Prime Minister is not above the law. Sanjay Singh was saying that why not other regulatory bodies should be also brought under the similar. Similarly, even the judges of the High Court and Supreme Court should be brought under this kind of category. Chief Election Commission should be brought under. Even that should be without period.
Doesn't that need a constitutional amendment, sir? You're talking of a constitutional amendment, right? If you're saying that every other regulatory body should have this clause?
See, I would still say that we are still nitpicking about issue. Okay, Mr. Modi must have cut corners. He has got an ordinance, got him in. How many ordinances did the Congress pass or try to pass or had to be thrown into the dustbin? Number one. Whatever little of Modi I know, I've seen his Gujarat model, I've reported from the number of occasions. Meritocracy is a very important segment of his life. And if he thinks a man has to be brought in, I'm not a Modi fan, or neither a detractor, I'm a professional. And whatever, if he thinks he needs
Thanks
to...
for clarifying that.
Yes. And I don't see what is the problem. No, there is a much larger issue.
Okay, can I come to that issue? Can I come to the main issue at hand? We are about halfway into the show, and of course all of you can join in the debate like I had said earlier, through your audio and video comments, your tweets and your posts. I'm waiting for them, and of course the conversation will continue on the portal. But the larger issue is the restoring the glory of the PMO. Let's come back to that issue now, please.
Exactly.
Okay? Yes, you were saying.
See, there's a larger issue about the question. The very beginning we did ask that will it be a PMO, whether it will be autocracy involved in it, and whether Modi will act exactly the way people are apprehensive that he will. Now, the first litmus test in Modi's case, if you see the BJP's manifesto, they said they will implement GST. Now, it was 2009, then Finance Minister Pranab Mukherjee introduced it. The UPA government could not implement it because there was a lack of consensus among the states. Now, we'll have to see how, this is going to be a very important subject because nobody's talking about it, because the ordinary people don't know what exactly GST means. It's a uniform taxation system. Now, how Modi is going to do that, because it is part of their pledge, that will set the pace for his government, that whichever way it's going to go. Whether they'll go exactly with the 282 or 283 numbers and do what they want and shove it down the throat of the states, or whether they will go for a wider consensus, because Modi and his government knows that they cannot impose it, because there's going to be competition among states to draw overseas investment and stuff like that.
Let me just bring in a point that Vinodji was making. He mentioned Brajesh Mishra. Now, he was another very strong person in the Vajpayee's PMO. And again, in the UPA regime, the PMO wasn't really strong, right? Are we seeing a stronger PMO coming back after all these years, Sanjay Singh?
No, see, you need not necessarily bring Brajesh Mishra aspect here because Brajesh Mishra combined two posts, NSA and Principal Secretary.
Yeah.
And his personal equations were great with Vajpayee, and therefore Vajpayee brought him in. And Brajesh Mishra, because Brajesh Mishra was there were charges by BJP leaders that he was soft to the Congress on various issues and matters.
I agree with that.
And in this case, Nripendra Mishra is not great friends with
Exactly.
Narendra Modi.
They hardly know each
So
other too well.
therefore, PMO is more professional, under Modi is more professional, at least as on now. And obviously, you'll get various other officials posted there and broad
You know why
contours-
I made that
broad
comparison?
contours.
Was because both of them are known to be no-nonsense people.
Brajesh Mishra had certain aura about him, that's fine. But then Brajesh Mishra had on several occasions was in conflict with L.K. Advani, the number 2 in Vajpayee government, which did not augur well for the government.
Which became very pronounced after the Kandahar
And
incident.
it suited various persons to be, at times, be critical of Advani and be close to Brajesh Mishra and be close to Advani and be critical of Brajesh Mishra and so on and so forth.
Okay.
It was not a very healthy situation.
But coming back to your question, it's a very good question that whether there will be a big bang PMO. It will be a big bang PMO, and why not so? I mean, the glory would be restored perhaps more administratively than politically, because if you see, Mr. Modi has done wisely, unwisely, or whatever, he has abolished all the GOMs, the group of ministers, an empowered group of ministers. And the figures which I picked up from this morning is that there were 80 of them. At one point, Pranab Mukherjee was heading 50 of them. There are certain GOMs they met only once since they were formed on various issues and national issues. Now, Mr. Modi has promised least government, maximum governance. If he wants to have a lean, and I would not say a mean team, a lean team, and he's cutting the flab, because there's a lot of talk about stick. He cannot give the stick at this point. I mean, he has to wait at least 2 years. Then the PMO would definitely become a policy, a pinnacle of the food chain of policy making.
Coming back to the point you were making about, you said let's not get into the Brajesh Mishra thing, but Nripendra Mishra thing. Nripendra Mishra is also known to be somebody who has been in favor of a single window scheme to clear investment plans.
That Mr. Modi also is, and he has proved that in
Yes.
Gujarat. See what happens, you compare with Manmohan Singh government.
Yes.
10 years, of course, PMO was a strong PMO under Vajpayee, PMO was a strong PMO under Rajiv Gandhi, PMO was a strong PMO under Indira Gandhi. Last 10 years, PMO was more of a secretariat than a position of authority, because
Yes.
Prime Minister also derived his authority from somewhere else.
Right.
And so therefore it was more of a secretariat work, and therefore that change has to take place. As Pratap Saab pointed out, abolition of GOMs and EGOM is a positive move in that direction, and gradually PMO has to be driving force in several ministries. The way work has been allocated to several ministers, and some ministers having portfolio, controlling 2-3 portfolios, and some very technical ones. So therefore, PMO in times to come, you'll see various task forces, various groups, various advisory councils where technocrats, experts are going to come in. And then also give advice to various ministry, because the press release, official communique that was issued by the PMO the day this thing was abolished, EGOM and GOMs, at the moment 20 of them were functional. At one point in time in UPA 1, of course, there were that many numbers, as he pointed out. And before Pranab Mukherjee became president, he was heading all EGOMs.
Right.
All of EGOMs and several of
were
GOMs, which later on came to P. Chidambaram and shared by Antony and Sharad Pawar. So now if that situation has to be reversed, that communique says in case of any conflict or diversity of opinion, the PMO and the cabinet secretary will resolve that. That itself
Right.
is an indicator of things to come.
Things to
I
come.
would
Yes.
like to add here something very important, which all my able colleagues would I hope they'll agree with me, is the defense sector. Now the defense sector is in a complete mess especially under UPA 2 and Mr. Antony.
Yes.
And this financial year, the upcoming financial year, if I'm not wrong, the defense ministry has to clear about $20 billion worth of projects. the Indian defense establishment does not have an artillery gun since 1987. It is trying to build a plane since the last 30 years, a tank for 20 years. It has failed because of poor leadership. And the Indian Defense Ministry the last 2 years has cancelled or blacklisted 12 international armament firms from doing business with India. Singapore being one, and South Africa also in 2005. Now, here, the very fact that it has a proxy defense minister in Arun Jaitley, here the Prime Minister's office will have to play a very important role, given the latest aggressions which last 1 year we saw in the LOC or at the Chinese thing.
Yes.
The Indian military needs the support of a very strong leadership.
All right.
Because especially procurement, and then what he has brought in, which is again radically important, is that raising of the FDI cap in a graded manner into defense sector from 74% to even 100%, which for successive governments had resisted it.
The PMO essentially is to act as a coordinator between different ministries.
As a Margdarshak,
okay.
as a pathfinder,
all right, as a guide.
As a guide.
And you see that happening. You see that happening in this PMO. All right.
See this happening.
Okay, last comments from Mr. Mohanty. We have to wrap up the conversation. Of course, it will continue on the portal. Your last comments, Mr. Mohanty, you just heard that the PMO is set to get stronger decisions. As Mr. Pratap Chakravarti pointed out, the defense sector especially. So do you see strong decisions taking place?
No, I would like to ask Pratap, why is it that you need to have a dummy defense minister? Why not Prime Minister take over the defense portfolio itself? Why keep a dummy and then control it with the remote?
There are things called...
that would be, it would be befitting Narendra Modi to deal things hands-on. And he should be able to show, right or wrong, I am the boss, he is the boss, and he should take the responsibility directly. And I have no quarrels with the issue that the PMO should be the driving force, because ultimately, with the success or failure is derived from the strength of the Prime Minister himself.
All right, all right. Okay, let me go across to Vinod Agnihotri ji for his final comments. I think the audio seems to be better now.
No, I know then.
Finally, when we are coming to the end of the conversation. Okay, Vinod ji. No, it does not seem to be better. I cannot hear him at all. All right. We'll just try and get the audio back. Sanjay sir, your last comments on, the road forward. Where do we see the PMO headed? Of course, you guys have already talked about it, but just a comprehensive final wrap up.
Obviously, you'll see a stronger PMO, goes without any doubt. Modi, of course, has to unravel so many things, and his ministers have to work. The power that was considered to be great perk of politics, I don't think will make ministers very happy to know that they will have to work.
All right. Vinodji, I think we've got your audio back.
Actually, I would like to tell you, one of my friends, he was a secretary with during the Bajpayee government, and continuously he was the UPA1. I asked him what is the difference between the Bajpayee PMO and Manmohan Singh's PMO.
Right.
He said during the Bajpayee's time, the PMO, the note from PMO comes the PMO desires, and during the UPA government, PMO suggests. That is the difference between the two PMOs. And I think that during the Narendra Modi regime, the PMO will dictate, neither suggest nor advise. It's not desire.
Not desire. Okay, all right.
It's the strongest PMO, and the days will, I think the Indira Gandhi's days will be back regarding the PMO's authority.
Wow, that's a strong statement. Indira Gandhi's day, we are going to see Indira Gandhi's days coming back in this particular PMO. Pratap Chakravarti, your last comments, please.
Well, I don't know about his desires, but then in his 442 poll rallies, he made a lot of promises. And he has to fulfill them all. And if you see how many ministries he has kept in his hand, public grievance, personnel, and nothing much. So he has to fulfill a lot of promises he has made. Strong India, strong this and that economy.
Nripendra Mishra will help. Nripendra Mishra will add to it.
He needs his team of, he needs his several layers of people and which he's already choosing one by one. You know, if you've seen when he came in, Nipendra Mishra would play a pretty pivotal role. That's why he's kept back Ajit Seth, who was supposed to have retired on 31st of June, and the announcement came this evening that he's been given an extension.
Right.
Why? It's not that.
So meritocracy, as you were talking about.
Meritocracy is there, and he's not going to, from what I see from inside at times, Mr. Narendra Modi is not really rocking the boat that much as we expected him to do.
Right, all right. So even that ordinance isn't really rocking the boat as most of you on the conversation suggested. It is something as simple as the Prime Minister being given an opportunity to select his own team, as Mr. Sanjay Singh said. Well, of course, a very interesting conversation. I'm sure 30 minutes is not enough, but the conversation will definitely continue on the portal through your audio and video comments and your tweets. I would like to thank my online guests, Mr. Vinod Agnihotri of Amar Ujala, Mr. Mohanty of Jagran Institute of Media and Masscom. Thank you so much for the both of you for joining on the conversation. I would like to thank Sanjay Singh of First Post and also Pratap Chakravarti of SABC. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. It continues on the portal. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.